I thank you all for coming. Before we get into the question and answer, I'd like to honor a cast member that passed away, Leora Owens. She's represented here tonight by her daughter. If her daughter could come down, and Michelle Measle-Day, we have some flowers and a little gift, a prop from the movie to give to Leora's family in honor of Leora's participating in the film and participating in the Buffalo film community. We're happy you could attend tonight in honor of Leora. We have some flowers for you, for your family, and there's a prop that actually Leora had personally made with me. It's for you to have, and it was used in the movie. And thank you for having a wonderful mother and having her participate with us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Before we get to the Q&A, we do have some out-of-towners here. Why don't you explain what Leora's part was in the film?
Okay, thank you. So Leora Owens was the famed Wisp. She was a lead character. She was the Will's baby dad, or the mother of the child that had been conceived with Will, who is played by Jason Genevieve. So we see Leora as Fame, who spends her life wisping people, which is taking them off of the safe passage that someone is on their journey, and they're whisked off into harm's way. And Leora's character was very good at that. And there was some conflict with Jason's character, Will of the Wisp, because she had conceived a child with him. And the idea with the Wisp is that the mother sacrifices herself and comes out as the baby. And so the conflict was that she didn't do that. She let the daughter grow up inside of her, and Will had some issues with that. So we saw Leora in the scene where she is wisping away Jonathan Rogers, a tall guy with the beard there with Ty Chaman, and then we see Leora in the elevator scene. We see her in the dance scene. And eventually, Jason's character, Will the Wisp, he meets up with her and gets some revenge on Leora's character and frees their daughter. So Leora was in the red dress, and I thought those were some of the most beautifully shot scenes, color-wise and clarity. Very happy with those. And Leora was a trooper. Took many, many hours, many days to get those shots down, and she never complained once.
As Buzz Lightyear said to Woody, "You are a strange and peculiar little man." But you are also an artist. And I gotta tell you, we've been doing this festival in one form or another for 9 years. And we've shown a lot of local films. We pride ourselves on trying to support budding local artists. I think this is the most original film I've ever seen in Western New York. I know it's going to be very divisive. Some will love it, some will not know what they saw. I love it. When I watched it at 3 a.m. a month and a half ago, I didn't know what the hell I had just seen. And now I think I know maybe a third of what the hell I just saw. So someday you will come to my house and we'll go through it. You can explain to me every nuance of this film. I got to say, not only is it very ambitious in terms of all the different things you're trying to tell in that story, but it's so well done. Like the eye on the back, and I don't know even know how you achieve some of the projection going on in this film. We're gonna get into it. Terry, I'm really glad you're here tonight, buddy. So, Nick, you're like a hippie, aren't you? This is a very psychedelic film.
I did cut off all my hair right as I graduated law school. I had to fit into the court system, so I cut all my hair off.
And explain what your wife and daughter did in the film.
Right.
And your son. I understand your son as well too. Your whole family. Let's hear how you got them involved.
Okay, well, I was born, and my father's here tonight, and he inspired me. He's an artist, and he would let me try to color inside the lines. He worked professionally as an art director for 37 or 40 years at a TV station. I never colored inside the lines, and I still don't. He did the poster at the last minute for me, and I'm very appreciative of the wonderful Will-O-the-Wisp poster. So a lot of my father, he's very regimented and organized, and I'm almost completely the opposite. So I thank my father very much for giving me a little bit of his artistic talent. He can draw a straight line. I tend to scribble. My wife, she supports me. She lets me out of the house, and when I come back late at night, she's asleep, and as long as I don't wake her up, I'm okay. Now, my son, Donald, he's 29, and he started playing guitar one string at a time, singing, writing songs about 12 or 13 years ago. 90% of the music in the movie was my son Donald and his various forms of his band. Starting off with the finger-picking folk types music when he first started out to the screamo. He turned into screaming musician, which fit well in some of the scenes. Might have been a little loud. And then my daughter Megan, she just writes some songs and sings, has a beautiful voice. She did some of the songs too. Some of the music was done by myself and my friend Hey Pax back in turn of the millennium now, 18 years ago, computer music, just playing around with him back when I was just graduating college. And then we had a great opportunity. The first song in the first scene, beautiful song, I was waiting to get permission to use that from Jax, the Luca Squeaky Wheel. She ended up going to National Endowments of the Arts, and she allowed us to use that song in that first scene.
Let's talk a little bit about the music. Did you know where you were going to be using some of this music while you were shooting the film, or was this all decided during the year?
Well, I always had the intention of incorporating my friends and family into the movie in whatever capacity I could. So since I pretty much was learning as I went, and this project took 4 years, and they're not shot in sequence, so some scenes are very straightforward and I guess following the rules. That was probably early on, and then as I started to explore myself and get away from the rules, those scenes are a little bit different. I would take different times in editing, either to the music or do the edit first and then re-edit it to the music. Again, it was all a learning process, and I'm not sure I actually did anything twice the same way, and I don't know if I ever want to do anything twice the same way.
All right, so this, just to put Mick into context, he said he's a lawyer, and he slowly got involved with the film community here and started, I guess, doing extra work and then speaking roles. If you've been watching the festival, he had a very large role in Post-Apocalyptic Commando Shark this year, and a very large role in Attack on Titan a couple of years ago. He's been a PA for me. He's on sets, he's around sets a lot. He's just always the quiet, pleasant guy who's helping, and over the last year, he started mentioning this project he was working on. Have you finished a film before this? I know you've got other things you're working on, like the documentary you mentioned to me. Is this the first thing you finished?
It's the first thing, probably over 6 or 7 minutes that I've finished, and this is a tight 60 minutes. There's probably 2 hours worth of footage, and along the way, I got a great piece of advice from Greg here when he got to screen Kellen Waterton's Condemned with You All a few years back, which Kellen gave me a great opportunity to act in that and had a fun time along with Jason and John Beebe. Greg really liked that movie, and he said that we gotta tighten it up and it'd be even better. So I tried to remember that, tighten it up, and then it took me a while to remember that, but towards the end, along with procrastination and deadlines, I did start to apply the principle of keep it simple. And so I think that's gonna help me in the long run, because realistically, I would have liked to almost let the scenes run on and on and on. But I think keep it simple is a good approach.
When I looked at this film at 3 a.m. in the morning, and I would, I do this all the time when we're trying to finish getting through all the submissions. Fall asleep, wake up, rewind, fall asleep, wake up, rewind. It was very confusing, and I thought it was me. And we started having dialogues back and forth, and okay, I've got to add the credits and this and that. And then he said, yeah, and I'm still shooting scenes. You're still shooting scenes? You submitted this film that we're going to premiere in a month and a half. Yeah, Sam just shot a scene for me last night. At some point, the story has to be told. So how long did this take altogether?
Well, like I said, 4 years, but realistically, that's just shooting some scenes 1 or 2 days at a time, every couple of months, and there could honestly have been 8 or 9 months in between scenes. I mean, I have a full-time job, and trying to, make a go at that. Also, there's a little bit of anxiety and procrastination, and I get a lot of energy from kind of being behind on things. Also, I get a little disappointed in myself that if things don't come out the way that I wanted them to, and I actually was a little disappointed with the movie to begin with, because it is tough. It is really, really tough making a movie with, little budget and just on the good graces of the people that are helping you. And so really the people that deserve the credit are all of the people that supported me along the way, the actors that show up endlessly and tirelessly, and all the people that donated their time, their energy, their houses. I mean, I was telling Keith Lukowski, who's in the movie, in the hospital scene there, bringing back to life Jason's character Will with Joe Giambra. I said, Keith, I really appreciate you doing the acting, and he made the table where Jason's lower half was underneath the table and the hairy legs are sticking out. I said, Keith, thank you for acting in the movie, but the best part about having Keith be involved is I have a movie made that was shot in Keith's house, and if the locals know, that's like a lot of movies about Florida are shot at Keith's house, so that's an awesome thing. But movie would not have been made without the people coming back over and over again. I can tell you that as a local filmmaker here now, after I've been on probably over 60 sets, and most of these people, like Greg's sets in particular, Sam's sets, they get these movies shot, they get these movies made, they get them done, and then they move on to the next project. And I think part of this being scared is I don't want to say success, it's success and failure. It's like, you make things last as long as you can, and then you don't know what comes next. So I think that's part of the delay.
Well, I hope you're not planning on just putting this up on Vimeo and making it available to people. I think you're gonna have to spend a long time submitting at the festivals, finding the right festivals that can be interesting in something experimental like this, and getting it out in the world that way before you just make it available to people online. I really think this film has a future. I don't particularly know the right festivals for it, but they're out there. There are experimental festivals, and this is an experimental film, even though it's got, as you've explained it to me, it's got a narrative story, but it's within a very experimental format.
Right. I really, really did try hard to follow the rules. I had people telling me left and right, 180 rule, this, that, and everything, and it's like, I went to college for 10 years, and I learned the rules enough to pass the classes, and then it's like when I get out and practice my job or whatever I do in life, it's like, sometimes you gotta break the rules a little bit if it's not
This
gonna
whole film is about breaking rules. All your editing techniques, people walking forward, walking backwards, the rules to break them. You're definitely breaking them. You're smashing them in people's faces.
Yeah, I mean, I tell myself I'm not doing it on purpose. Maybe sometimes.
So this was written at one point. It must have been a script, right? It wasn't just an outline. Was it an actual script? What was described on the page?
Okay, well, I met Jason, a couple years back, and he had, inspired me to want to make a movie. I'd been working with Rhonda Parker before that, and I wanted to make a short movie with Jason in it, and about a guy like your Uncle Ed or something, somebody that turns into all hair, is all hair. That was the premise of it. That actual short treatment didn't really go anywhere, but then it turned into an actual, I guess a treatment, a couple pages of a story. And then I sat down and I wrote out an outline and started to fill in the different scenes and kept adding in different scenes. So there actually is a 50 or 60 page script out there. But you know, the actors would find out that they would get their scripts or their sides, usually probably at the last minute, except for the main characters, hopefully. And I usually shot without ever having the script in my hand. I didn't have a script supervisor. I knew in my mind what I wanted to get out there, and if the actors kind of got the lines right or kind of did what I wanted them to, then I wasn't concerned necessarily with exactly what the script said, because, you know, getting out what was in my mind doesn't always come out right on the paper, and it doesn't always come out right on film. But I'm more of in the moment. In the moment. That first scene, the lead actress wasn't able to show up for that scene. So it's like, well, I just paid like $200 for this hotel room. What am I gonna do? Well, I'm gonna still use it. So I shot the scene without the lead actress. Brenda May was the actress that was also in the scene. And it was this big convoluted, I was gonna have skin coming off of the face and blood everywhere and all this kind of stuff. And then I remember, keep it simple. And I was looking at the beautiful reflection in the window with her getting near the hot tub, and I was like, you know what? This is perfect. I'm just going to shoot, and then it's not going to be any different. I'm not going to change it. And it just, to me, it came out beautiful, and that's what I like is that moment. And when I watch all my movies, my B movies, movies I buy for $1 somewhere, movies I pick up somewhere, I'm watching for that one moment. You know, there could be a 90-minute movie that really is horrible, but if you can find that real moment in there, that's worth everything right there. And that's the way I tried to shoot most every scene. Was I just wanted one moment in every scene, at least one.
I think you succeeded. There's a lot of really special shots in this film, and I think watching it the first time, you're so overwhelmed with what's coming at you that it's hard to appreciate some of the beauty in some of those shots, but it's definitely there. And it's gotta be especially hard when you've got multiple cameramen, people rotating, helping fill in spots. I mean, you've got a vision here, and to have 3 different cameramen help that vision has gotta be a challenge.
Well, I knew I wanted to get people I liked, I respected, people that have a good eye involved in this, and also, quite frankly, you know, to give me a teeny bit of a break so I could concentrate on trying to go along with what the bigger picture was, and that they could take away some of that responsibility for me. So, frankly, in the movie, if you see a scene that was not blurry and not shaking and, you know, straight on, that was one of the very talented camera people, director of photography, Sam Qualiana, Zach Nohweed, Joseph Jambra, Floyd Baker's here. We got to use his studio, and the lighting was awesome. And I do understand, I do realize that good cameras, good experienced people, good lighting, good sound, all of that really, really can help make a movie even that much better. So part of me says, you know what, things can be better if you're surrounded by that. And that's, I think, having to not be the smartest person in the room is probably the best approach. So I did, on occasion, try to surround myself with wonderful people. And I'm very happy that those scenes that they helped me with came out awesome. But the first scene of the movie was the last scene that I shot. And I think at that moment, I started to hopefully assimilate a little bit of what all the people that I've worked with, come to me. And I've worked with just about everybody in Buffalo at one point.
Well, I think you have an eye too, and there's a lot of scenes in the hotel room where the camera is drifting. It's going from one point to another, and it feels very random, but it's not. It's always going to a destination. And I picked up on that, so especially seeing it on a big screen, it's so evident. And in the club scene, and I think there's a real sense of direction in this film. Doesn't make me understand it more, but it makes me know that there is a vision behind it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's open this up, and you should feel free to give comments as well as ask questions. Let's give this man some feedback, because he put a lot into this film. Terry, thank you.
Nick, that was really quite beautiful. And there's a lot of adjectives that kind of flood your head as an audience watching it. It might not be so much in terms of answers, in terms of narrative and stuff, but just watching it, like, it's a very generous film, both on screen and behind the camera. You just get a sense of that. It's really weird. And you get, and it's sort of like, echoed in your Q&A. It's not a falsehood, it's not a thing that you just put on paper, it's you. So it's sort of like a Rorschach of yourself going on, on this thing. So it's a neat character study of the filmmaker. There's some really, really cool things. The scene with Brenda was really wonderful. Brenda always amazes. She's very, your choice of actors and stuff is really cool too. I think it was great that you were able to find these people and that they respond to you. And stuff like this. There's some scenes where it seems like, okay, that's a little weird, and I think like, I will say, like the scene with Keith and Joe, that was good, but some of that seemed like, all right, that wasn't quite like what some of the other stuff was. And I think it shows a little bit of the process of you making this film, that I wonder, like, how much of it did you understand was, all right, I got what I wanted, or was it like, I hope I got what I wanted and I'll know when I'm watching it? Like, in part of that directorial process and that post-production
Right.
process?
I think he's speaking towards intuition.
Right. Well, again, I think when I was trying to follow the rules, I couldn't see. And, Keith is a wonderful person to work with, Joe Jabra, Jason, all of them there for that scene, and they helped me set everything up. Now, I lose sight of, I need to get coverage, I need to get this angle, that angle, make sure I get this and that. And so that scene was shot early on, and definitely has a different feel. And actually, I would hope I would improve the scene a little bit by the way I edited it. There's a lot of blurriness in there and a lot of cutting back and forth, but that's because I didn't get the coverage. And at the last minute, when I'm kind of getting ready for the festival, I'm like, wow, guess what? In the editing and effects, I can like section in parts of the screen. I didn't even know about that. So now I could zoom in on something. And so that's why, like, technically speaking, it kind of looks strange. But frankly, I didn't get enough coverage there.
Sure.
And, you're there for hours and hours and hours. And it's like, no, you're not rewatching the footage and things are blurry. And sometimes you just gotta keep moving on. And so over the 4 years, and after having been on so many different sets, I could learn how to breathe, I could learn how to take the time, and I could learn to try to be in the moment. And that started to happen for me. And in particularly that first scene, which took probably 10 hours. That first scene is when I could actually start to see it there in front of me and capture what I wanted to. So, I mean, it was happening more subconsciously all along, but the longer I did it, the more conscious I started becoming of it.
There is an oddness to the story that around the halfway point where we're putting the pieces together and we're getting used to these actors, and you then bring out a whole bunch of new characters. And that almost adds to the confusion, trying to figure out how they're gonna play a role and how this fits in. And then that all comes together as well. But I think in that middle point, there's a section where there's so many new faces all at once that it got a little confusing.
Well, Sam is Gindra's character. I was introduced to her by Michael O'Hare after maybe a Rainbow Bridge gathering over off of Hurl. I think that's how it went. And so, Sam was interesting to work with, and I expanded her role in the film a lot. And so we started shooting scenes with Sam, and some other characters maybe dropped off a little bit. I'm not good with establishing shots. I don't like establishing shots necessarily. And I don't know if you're saying like character introduction, I just kind of introduce these characters. When I read a book, I don't like reading books at all. Sorry, Greg, I know he's a great author. But if I read a book, I'll either read by index or content or start in the middle of the book. I don't like character development. So I just jump into the middle of the book and read it again. And if I like it, then I'll go back to the beginning. I don't know if that's what happened here with these.
This makes sense now, doesn't it?
You are a strange and peculiar little man.
Well, what's good about with law school is, you know, believe it or not, you don't have to really read 50 pages of a decision to get through the class and pass the test. You just apply a couple of rules to it, and you just read a little synopsis of it. So I like short spurts. I think my stepmother's here, Marta, she's like, what's the saying? I have a lot of useless information or something. Okay, well, I guess you recognize, but a lot of good, useless information, I suppose.
Everyone in our world is that way, though.
Yeah, and, you know, it's nice to fit in that sense.
Other questions, Terry?
I'm just curious, because I really don't know you that well. I mean, I've seen you a couple times, and I'm amazed at your performances as an actor. Like, the one scene you have in Standoff, and you're brilliant, I think, in Condemned of it all, that I love your character in that film. In this, in terms of inspiration, and I don't mean this as a joke, and I don't mean this as any sort of indictment, but have you ever had any extensive drug use? Have you? And I ask that because I haven't, and I know some people have accused me of that or wonder how much I've done, and so that's why I ask. And another thing is, if you've done it but only in the past, now when you're looking for ideas, what is your process?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that I get all my energy at nighttime, and you know, there's one scene in there where there's a song I made up about start eating mushrooms. I can tell you there were no mushrooms harmed in this movie whatsoever. Never did any mushrooms, never did any hard drugs like that. So if I drink very rarely. I do not enjoy thinking of ideas or making things if I was on any kind of intoxicant, because you know what, it just basically gets too convoluted, too messed up, and too lost. I don't like to be lost. I do aim, I don't want to say I aim for perfection, but I aim to a level at least where I'm going to be happy with it. And it took a long time to be happy with this, with myself, in this. And that's part of the 4-year process. It's like, you know what, I didn't want to show anybody something I wasn't happy with. I'm a horrible used car salesman. You come, this is why I drive cars for 20 years, because I can never sell them. Because I know all the things wrong with them.
Erica?
I'm curious about the mythology of the Wisps. Is that something that was derived from another mythology, or is that pure myth?
Did you create the mythology for the Wisps in this, or did you get it from research?
Yeah, I probably created like 99% of that. All I knew was that, you know, basically the idea of take people off their safe passage. You know, you're on a mission, you're on a journey, you know, to just get from one place to another, and then a temptation comes along and takes you off the safe path, and you get in harm's way, and you know, whether you recover from that or not, I don't know. And so that necessarily might not be explained so well in this movie, but I did try to do it with that first scene where that guy is being, you know, taken off on his path. He goes back, and you know, in the scene he's actually there to free the Sam Ginger character from the Brenda character. There's a little scene where he's using a knife and he's kind of cutting her skin so it can be loose for her to get out when she's in the back in the hot tub. So I read a lot about wisps and Celtic folklore. I love all that kind of stuff. You know, again, short little spurts of it and not really detailed. But the Jenny character, Jenny is a wisp, basically like a pumpkin. You know, these mysterious lights off in the distance. And Jason's character, the Will of the Wisp character, he was a wisp, but he was anti-wisp. He got a reputation for being a vigilante. He was actually trying to stop people other wisps from wisping people off the safe paths. And the problem is, you know, his daughter was growing up inside of the mother, and he was conflicted with himself that he let the daughter not live her own life. And he had that problem. And so I would say the folklore, I made up most of it. And
The bird stuff and the hair, is that
Yeah.
part Celtic? That's you?
no, that's all me. And my son had a song, and they're a very good song, about the Song of the Sirens. Siren, Wisp, similar things.
Adrian, I saw you. You're next.
So, I thought, your movie reminded me of, if Salvador Dali, who else, David Lynch and Alejandro Jodorowsky came together and made a movie with heavy metal music, and, comment would be, to get your film into as many art galleries here in Buffalo and in Rochester, especially where I'm from, the Rochester Memorial Art Gallery. And my question would be, since Zach Amico's in the film, are you thinking of having Lloyd Kaufman help you out, get distribution, and also to have it shown at the Museum of Modern Art in New York City?
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to all those ideas. Lloyd does cameos. I worked with Lloyd a number of times. Good guy for cameos, supports people. Zach is a guy, he's worked with me. He came and did this. He had a much more extensive scene. I liked the little part that I threw in his act. It was just kind of during a hallucination scene, where Jason got shot, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But if you listen to the words, it's kind of like, it maybe makes a little more sense. But I really don't have any idea. I spend a lot of time just trying to learn how to work on other people's movies and then make my own. I really don't know anything about distribution and all that kind of stuff. I guess I'll think about that next, but I really don't know.
No, yes.
So I heard someone out front say, oh, this is the short version. There's a longer version?
Well, I mean, I shot 2 or 3 hours probably worth of footage.
Uh-huh.
So,
This person sounded like there was a longer version that's cut in the can and maybe ready to go.
no.
No.
There's like longer scenes. There's a lot of scenes that haven't been completely edited yet. It's a very difficult process. I mean, I don't know about other people, I literally could spend 8 hours at night for 5 minutes and then get up and go to, work the next day. And, yes, I very much have plans to make an extended version, but I can't give you a deadline on that.
Can I ask you another question?
Yeah.
With the whole mother-daughter, it seems like it's always mother-daughter when the mother's pregnant. I didn't notice any references to a mother being pregnant with a boy. So is this like a commentary on the mother-daughter relationship?
No, there's a scene that hasn't shot, may never be shot, where Jason, he does reference it though, I think when he's riding on the horse. Jason is a wisp, and he was born to a mother wisp, but he actually, he was born from it's his guy's strange, but he was born from his grandmother. There also was like a child that was growing up inside of a wisp mother. So at one point, the mother there, the grandmother, was pregnant with male wisp. All the wisps were born the same way, male or female. I don't know if that answers your question.
It seemed like the wisps were more feminine energy, and obviously I interpreted it wrong, but he's will of the wisp as opposed to a wisp.
Right. Well, that's because he was going against the grain. He wasn't following the tradition, the rules, and frankly, neither were fans. Anybody that was going around killing the other wisp for what they do naturally, and anybody that was participating in breaking the traditions, they were going against the grain.
I think that perception is because there aren't any other male character wisps. This is just Phoebe's character, and he's a rebel, so.
Right, and Alexander Bride, he was a male wisp also. And what happens in that case is, if you're a male wisp and you go to this like swamp and those plants there, there's skunkweeds. My friend Brad Felshing, that's his camp down there in Rushford. And these interesting skunkweed plants, they don't grow up. They grow up a little bit with the leaves every year, but then they actually grow down. They're like trunk of the plant is in the ground. So the deeper the root, the deeper the trunk, the older the plant is. And so these bodies that go into the swamp, they get pulled down into the mud. And when Sam had liberated Jason's character from funeral home art gallery. Ludina is here, that's her art gallery. She was the actress in the art gallery, which is also a funeral home or like a cemetery. Jason, or the Jenny character, takes Jason's skin and puts him into the swamp inside of this egg, like an incubating egg. And the idea there is to allow whatever prior Wisp was dead and inside the ground, they have an additional chance to come out and live again, and they have to battle for who's going to survive. So Alex's character can survive.
That was pretty clear when they were talking about the baby and, she's gotta bring him back. I think that's also why I thought only women came from women, because the two male wisps came out of what was like an egg.
Right. Now, they can,
They're like Pete and repeat.
right, the ladies could come out of the egg too if they wanted to be brought back to life, and the males come out of the females also.
So after the woman peeled her skin off to have a baby, she can come back to life?
Yeah. Yeah, so they could take Eeyore's skin there, the Fame character, and bring her back to life either through some institution or put her in the egg, in it, her own egg, and she can come back to life too. And that's the reason why they hang in those funeral home art galleries, is because it's a place for family members to come and visit. And if any of them ever feel like taking on the responsibility of bringing one of them back to life, go for it.
Time for one more question? Anybody? Terry?
So what you're saying is you're setting up a franchise.
Yes, yes, yeah, we've got like 5 movies in there. Yes.
Right, well, I don't know, I'm kind of on to like late 60s Japanese stuff. I've talked to that gentleman over there. So I kind of like the styles of those movies now, so maybe that's what I'll do next, if anything. But I'll tell you what, the roof is falling apart on my barn, and that needs to get fixed.
I want to say, I'm really proud of you. It's a really impressive piece of work. Nobody knew you had this in you. It was just over the summer when he was working on my last film that he was telling people, yeah, this is never going to be finished. And it kind of is, I guess. We'll see when the next version comes out of the egg.
Well, Greg and Chris and the festival, and, I had been telling myself and telling Jason and his partner, Igor's Lab, Anthony Crest, it's like, when's the movie coming out? It's like, I'm gonna get it ready for, and I probably told everybody in here, it's coming out Greg's next festival, and it just, every year it's like, no, and this year, it's like, I'm just gonna do it, and I'm gonna do it, and this is actually, this was an original complete story, so an extended version really is additional stuff that wasn't per se ever supposed to be part of it, and we did shoot some of those scenes, and, I didn't get to necessarily thank, personally up here, thank you to every single one of you who has been along the way with me. I loved every moment of it.